This, again, something that seems to have been so obvious to all of us, and because there's any number of examples, are all the spiral forms that there are in nature. These drawings have been taken from a book published in 1908 by a man called John Bell Pettigrew. But if you look at them, and I'm not going to dwell on them for very long, I'm just going to pass them through, what you see in all of them is that there is no straight line, circle, and or point. So there are none of these things can be drawn with any of the systems we usually use for designing whatever our technical artifacts are. Nature doesn't seem to have any use for straight lines. I mean, even in the galaxy, the same, that's the Whirlpool galaxy, it's overlaid actually with the hyperbolic spiral of Walter Schauberger, which is in its simplest form, again, so that you can see the outside from the outside to the inside movement. It can also be mathematically defined. So most of these spiral forms can be reproduced in one form or another quite accurately mathematically. Again, you have another example, that's the eye of a hurricane. Again, we have this movement from the outside to the center, from practically no movement to a very high movement, fast movement. And at the other end of the scale, it goes down to the DNA molecule. Again, all these vortical, helical phenomena we can see, but we have never tried to copy them. For some reason, they're all associated with energy, but we just don't do anything with it. We are so fixed in our attitude to explosion technology with pistons and rams and wheels and all sorts of things like that. We don't seem to have come to grips with the idea of spiral movement. Now, again, according to Viktor, you see energy is primary and the form is the secondary effect. So that you have let's say we have an energy path which is represented by these blue and red core spirals, so to speak, which intertwine, being the female and male energies associating to create life. And into this wake is drawn matter. But the matter part of it can only go for a certain distance before the form itself ceases, because I'm not a continuous form. I'm a form which is finite in shape, but the energy which is passing through me is actually moving all the time. I don't know where it comes from, whether it goes in through my feet and out my head or the other way around, but there comes a point where the physical aspect has to stop, although the energy path is always moving. So that energy creates the path through which it wants to flow in whatever situation it is. So energy is primary and the physical form is the secondary effect. And you can see how beautiful this looks like in a water vortex. I don't think too many people would have seen a vortex like that. But I mean, this, again, is the beautiful form which water creates when it is moving down a hyperbolic cone. The actual positions of all these nodules, so to speak, can be calculated mathematically. And it's very interesting to note, just as a point here, that in English, what supports the human body is called the spinal column. And in German, it's called the Wirbelsäule, and that translated directly into English means the spiral column. So that they think in German, what supports your structure physically is the spiral column, and in German, all the vertebrae are they're all called vortices. And that is a completely different light on the whole thing. And so here, in a sense, we have what you might call a spiral column, which is very, very beautiful to look at. Now, the manifestation of energy is, in my view, it starts with the focusing of energy on a point, because when we see something grow, a seed gets planted, and so that it starts out, this movement of actual physical growth starts from something very small and grows something into very large. But the energy input has, so to speak, had to focus down into the small in order then to expand again into the large. And so this idea of the thing, as it were, which vibrates at certain frequencies, that comes from realms. Viktor talked of the fourth and fifth dimensions of being, was the formative energies which created the physical form through their concentration. Now, perhaps an analogy to show how the effect of higher energies function on lower energies is if I say, for instance, that the solar wind comes out from the sun, it impinges on the atmosphere of the Earth, and at that point there are certain thermal and dynamic interactions which creates clouds and starts to move the air around the Earth. Now the air, so I've come down already from one level, from the solar wind to the air of the Earth. But the air, the winds moving around the Earth affect the oceans. And their movement across the oceans, we create waves in the oceans. And so I've gone down yet another level. From the air, I've now gone down to the oceans and to the water. And right at the bottom of the sea or on the shores of the sea, then this water creates ripples in the sand. Okay, so that you have a progression of formative energies which come down to manifest themselves in, so to speak, physical reality, which in this case is the sand, so to speak. So you can see that how the sun's energy finally can manifest itself in physical ripples in the sand, but it's very difficult to see how physical ripples in the sand would finally manifest themselves in the sun's energy, so that these higher dimensions of being, these higher dimensions of energy, are responsible for creating physical form. And so you can see that the physical form, for instance, of these shells here, starts at a point, that's where the focus of energy is, and then they all manifest themselves as they grow out this way. This energy also, strangely enough, and this is only perhaps a happy accident, but I hit a piece of glass on the edge with a hammer. So I actually focused the energy at one point, and I did create the same sort of shell form. That just might have been that, but I thought it was fun.